You look like you're at like a work space,
I
Kate.
am. It's Brandon's workspace.
But like not in your home, like in one of those shared.
Oh, because it's such a little room. It's so cute.
Yeah. Like a library or
How big is that room?
It's pretty small. I mean, like these are my arms touching the wall.
Okay. And we're at volume, we're all good?
Yeah, am I okay?
let's do it.
Welcome to Just for Moms. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Callie. We are regular moms
Talking about regular stuff like
aging, parenthood,
work-life balance,
and figuring out what's for dinner. Again.
A no judgment zone to talk,
laugh, and maybe cry about all the things women think about on a daily basis.
welcome back. Just for moms here. Megan, Charlotte, Caitlin, and Callie. Hello. Look at these beautiful faces, and I love your smiles.
I was going to say good morning, but it's not really morning.
I wish we could do the Brady Bunch thing where you like look up.
Oh, yeah, where you like pop. And Megan
Yes.
here.
Oh yeah, but
Someday we should.
but that wouldn't work because somebody's off. Like I'm in the side.
No, but when I edit us together.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
All right. So I wanted to ask you girls clothing brands that you wore back in the day that this generation has never heard of, because there are a lot, and I'm showing my age here, but I feel like it's fun to talk about it. So for me, one of my faves was Juicy Couture. There are like I feel like there's been a different type of Juicy out there now, but the old Juicy is like the one original. And then the other one I loved, Limited 2.
Is Limited 2 gone?
Yeah,
I feel like they changed the name to Justice,
yeah,
right?
they're Justice now. Mm-hmm.
Wait, that's the same
Yeah.
thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know really either of them. I know my mind is. I did know on your list, Megan. I knew
Yes.
Juicy. I never had Juicy,
Okay.
but I'm familiar with that. But all the others were. I think I'm showing my age, maybe. I mean, it's a difference of like 5 years, but that makes a huge difference in the retail world.
Yes. Yes. And I remember all the boys wore Sean John and some of the girls too. I had a lot of friends that wore that brand. And then Delia's. We had a Delia's in one of our malls, and you'd get the magazine in the mail. Callie, were you too young for all of this?
No. Oh, I have
Yeah.
no idea what Sean John is, but that could have been
Okay.
just because I didn't wear cool clothes. But I do remember Delia's.
Okay.
And I remember getting the magazine, and it was so exciting. And then I remember when they finally opened like an actual store at our mall, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, like I remember when Banana Republic was actually like safari-esque. Like you would go in and the whole thing would be set up like, I don't know.
Remember the bags? I remember saving all the bags because it had all the animals on it.
I don't know that.
No, but I think we had a Gap and a Banana Republic next door to each other in our little town. And I don't think I realized that they're all the same company. Like that sort of blew my mind when I got that piece of hot intel. But I would walk in just hopeful for anything. And it was not in my price point. So I would walk through, and I don't think I think I got a coat once from Banana Republic, but it was definitely a Christmas present from my parents.
Well, I was just thinking about Contempo Casuals. Did you ever go there?
Yes.
So,
Isn't that for old
no,
ladies?
they sold Delia's stuff. It was at the mall. My sister-in-law worked there, and they sold like all the cool stuff. It was called Contempo.
I miss mall culture. That was so great. What a
I know.
great time to be alive.
Yeah, I know.
What was that? What is the Stranger Things? Have you guys watched that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a nice mall reboot.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a girl on TikTok, and she's dedicated to like 90s mall culture.
Yes.
And have you seen her? And she wears 90s clothes. But there's also some malls that are preserved. So she'll like go find them and do photo shoots in them and stuff. I need to look her up because she's fun.
The only brand that came up for me, and then we can move on. We can make an episode of this, but
Yes.
Benetton for me was like the be all and the end all.
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked about it because when I look back at my youth, it was like a sense memory of how desperately I wanted that goddamn rugby shirt, and I never got it because I want to say it was like $100
It was like
or
98.
something.
I feel like
It was Right.
90.
I mean, it's this my kids akin to like going into what is it like Lululemon and realizing that leggings are $140 and you can get them on Amazon for 25. My parents were like, "No, it's just not happening." So the only thing I had from Benetton was like a t-shirt and then I got some scarves at some point, but that's when I could buy my own stuff. But I never got the rugby shirt.
Did you ever, I have to ask this one, French Connection, and the shirts would say like FCUK, so not the bad word, and then something next to it. So like
Yeah.
FCUK boys or something like that. Like
Yes. I remember the controversy.
It's going over my head.
We had a French Connection near us when I lived in the city, and I remember it seeming very chic. Like they must have rebranded from that T-shirt you're describing.
yeah, like when in 2003, when right before I went on the cruise where I met my husband, I got a shirt in the city from that store, and it said "Lucky FCUK," and I just thought I was so cool wearing it on the plane.
And that's how I met
And that's
Brandon.
how I met Brandon. Lucky.
One more chat about the 90s and then we'll move on. Do you girls remember Clearly Canadian drinks? They are bringing them back.
Yeah, I got a press package from them a couple months ago. Yeah, they come in cans now.
What is it?
Clearly Canadian. Remember they were like the plastic bottles? It was sparkling seltzer when we were younger.
No. I remember New York seltzer because it came in just an array of flavors.
Wait, but you didn't grow up in Connecticut. So maybe it was a Connecticut thing?
Right?
I don't remember them. But no. I'm bad with names. Maybe if I like saw a picture, I might Google a picture
later.
Had a
fruit in the middle, and like every sandwich shop you went to or deli,
the bottles kind of blue.
Like a Clearly Canadian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's back.
I know. It's ringing zero bells, but I mean.
Okay. All right. Anyways, moving on from the 90s. Okay. Mom fails. If we have any, I'll go first. We were just, I feel like I have one every day, but this one sticks out. We were just traveling, visiting my brother in Michigan for 2 hockey games. And one of the nights we had to stay in a hotel, and I left Gianna's jeans hanging in the closet and Ava's pajamas in the closet. I remember, when you go to leave, you're like, okay, let's do one more check. You look under the beds, open the drawers. I don't know why I didn't think to check the closet doors. And then last night we were unpacking and I'm like, Gianna, where are those jeans? I have to stain spray them. You got green ink all over them. And she was like, I don't have them, Mom. And I was like, I hung them up in the closet and I left them there. So last night I called the hotel. They did find the 2 items, surprisingly. Shocked. And I just have to pay the shipping fee. So that's my mom fail.
I mean, I'm going to pull a little bit of a Travis Kelce. Why didn't Gianna get Gianna's jeans?
You know what, Charlotte? I have to say, being around you, you make me feel like I need to tell my kids to do more things on their own. And I love that. I really do. I do. You're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
And Ava should have got her pajamas. But, I spoil these girls and I should be more like Charlotte. Get your own stuff. They need to be responsible. You're 100% right. So thank you.
Yeah, they should pay for the shipping back. Make them dump out their piggy bank.
Yes.
Ooh, level up.
And write a thank you.
And there we go.
Any other mom fails since the last time?
Mine's short. I sent my kids to school, like got in the car, drove to school when it was a snow day. Did I share this already? It was a snow day.
You shared it privately.
Nope.
Oh, yeah. So have this recurring theme of sending my kids to school when there's not school. I'm obviously just so excited for them to go to school.
My recurring theme is just that like wheels are off when it comes to kind of basic human hygiene, especially with the youngest child, because he's learned that we'll say, go shower tonight. And he'll be like, okay. And he knows that we're just going to forget to follow up. There was a point, and we got back we're recording this the week after the Super Bowl. So, the Super Bowl was Sunday night, right? I think there was a snow day on Thursday. I believe we forced him to shower on Thursday and like watched him walk in and like smelled him when he came out and confirmed that he had showered. He came back from the Super Bowl and it was too late to force him to shower. He was not smelling good. And I don't think he got in a shower until maybe Monday, because you just will say, go do it. And he doesn't do it. So we've lost the thread on the youngest in particular. So if he smells, it's not on me.
I mean, that's
You
a
tried.
battle I have in my house with, I'm not going to name names, but
Same.
I'm like, come on, your hair is very greasy and gross looking. And they think dry shampoo helps, and it doesn't at all.
But it's also like, I looked at him yesterday very honestly and I said, you really smell. Does that bother you? Like, do you mind that you are walking through the world smelly? And he's like, he starts to be like, well, I don't smell. And I was like, because you're just like walking around like Pigpen in your own, you don't know what's
Yeah.
happening. They don't, I mean, none of them care. But if somebody told me I smelled, whew, I would have been scrubbing. I mean, maybe not when I was 12, but
I always smell their hair, Caitlin. I do that. I go,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, you need to shower. I did last night. Go again.
No, I'll tell them they smell like, I remember when I taught first grade, third graders didn't really smell. My first graders stunk. Like, ooh, dirty hair, dirty skin, just,
And probably the teeth.
yeah.
They don't brush their
And
teeth.
I'm
well,
not blaming
right?
any of their parents because kids lie. They tell you,
yeah, we have those kids
yep,
now.
now they're mine.
My 4-year-old is like struggled to get her dressed in the morning. And the other day, Michael's like, when do they just get dressed on their own? And I was like, Michael, never. We're for our whole lives going to have to tell them to get in the shower, brush your teeth. Like he doesn't he was like, it's got to be a time where that stops. I'm like, forever until they move out. And then we just don't have to worry about it anymore. Right. We will always have to tell them to take a shower and brush their teeth.
Although in Charlotte's house, I bet they all do it without being told.
I have a couple that have reached that internalized state of hygiene. But no, with all the others, I have to point out, look a little greasy. Let's roll it in.
Take a shower.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, everyone's shared their mom fails. Moving on.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this week's topic is making friends as an adult. And I know personally this can be hard. And I wanted to start off with a quote that Callie shared that I thought was very
that's
fun.
exciting.
Adult friendships are hard because everyone is really tired.
So true, though.
It is. I know. Why are we always tired? I always ask my parents, I'm like, does that feeling ever go away? They're like, no, it just gets worse.
I'm reading Water for Elephants. I'm slightly taking a tangent. I apologize. But I'm reading Water for Elephants. And the very first chapter is this guy reminiscing back. And he says, I'm 90 years old, or maybe I'm 93. I can't remember. And then he's like, at some point when you're 30, you just start forgetting things. And you just you don't remember any. And I was like, yes, anyways, it's a good first chapter.
Of that.
It's a good book.
Is it? Oh, good. I just started.
It's really, really good. I have a question for all of you, because I wonder if this changes our tone. How many of you have a posse of friends that you've sort of had your whole life?
I do.
You do? And you go Aunt Girls weekends and that kind of thing?
Yes. Not so like a high school group of girls and college. The high school group started when I was a freshman. Is that what you mean? Or younger than that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I have friends from all chapters of my life, but there was never a point when it was one cohesive posse. I don't have a recurring girls trip.
No.
I've never been on a girls trip. I've been on trips with friends, but I don't have that. And I was thinking of my answer to this, and I'm wondering if that dynamic shapes how you approach friendships. When I got married and I had to pick the women to be in my bridal party, it was wonderful, but none of these people had ever met each other. I mean, they couldn't have been a more disparate group of humans, and it was wonderful to get them all together in one room. But I just wonder, I don't know, my friends are all they're all kind of one-offs.
I feel like I'm the same way, Charlotte. I have friends that I've been friends with since I was little, but we're not, and I could probably text a bunch of people I went to high school with right now and hang out with them. But it's not an everyday thing. And all of my friends are from little different pockets of different chapters of my life, or I met them in different places. And I do like to bring them together because it is fun to see the others all interact. But you've lived in different places and I have as well. So maybe that I've traveled to so many different states and made friends all over the place. So that's part of it. But I don't just have one gang of friends.
Yes. What about you, Callie?
No, I have a couple of friends that I met like in grade school slash into high school that I'm still friends with, but not all of them. And then no, I mean, by the time I was 18, my husband and I were living together. So I feel like I also sort of like never did that like college. I never lived in a college dorm. I never really like did that sort of thing either. Um, so that was always a weird dynamic making friends too, because I did make some friends single, when I was and a lot of them were also single. So then it was this weird, like I had these friends that weren't in a relationship, but I was in a very committed relationship. And that was always sort of weird. So I feel like making friends after high school for me has always sort of been sort of strange that way, because there is like, when you make friends as a mom, there's this whole layer of like, are our kids the same age? Do we parent the same way? But even if you take out the kid part, if you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, there's like that whole weird level. And then like, are we going to hang out with our husbands? If we're hanging out with our husbands, do they get along? And I know it's like a whole nother strange dynamic.
Yes. I know for me personally, like Charlotte, to back to what you were saying, I have my high school friends, my college friends, then I have work friends, my first job right out of college. And that was the hard part where I felt like, okay, now what do I do? Like I'm in a work environment and these people are almost like family and I'm going to be there every day. So I made so many work friends at my first job at Commuto Group. That was for 5 years. I had those work friends. Now I have mom friends. So it's like you have different types of friends and it can be tricky and, juggling all the friendships too, where I feel like you feel like maybe you lose, like my high school friends, I probably see as a group maybe once or twice a year. But when we get together, it's like we're almost together and we have our group chat on my phone. We text a lot, but it's nothing. It's like nothing's ever changed, which I love that, friendship that my high school friends, I just feel like those are my girls for life. And I also read a quote as well saying that if you've been friends with someone for over 10 years, and I don't know if you girls agree with this, that friendship will be a lifelong friendship.
Yeah, I think that if you stay in touch with someone that long, that it's, you could probably call them up after a couple of years and still talk to them. Something I've learned in the last couple of years is that it's okay if a friendship ends. I think that's been the hardest thing about making friends as an adult, is that friendships don't always last forever, and that's okay. That you'll make friends through different seasons of your life, and friendships come and go, and you can be sad about it and literally mourn that it's over, or you just kind of let it fly away in the wind.
Well, it's when I think of friendship, as I get older, I think I've learned to value and look for friendships in a different way. Like when I was younger, I don't know if I took it for granted or I was much more interested in like finding a boyfriend. Or, I mean, I think I grew up in an era where having a boyfriend was much more, uh, for me, it felt like it had more cachet. And so that was something that I was like, for my own self esteem, I sort of needed that boyfriend. And so I think I focused on that more than girlfriends, because the girlfriends just kind of were. And as I moved through high school and college, I I think I was still maybe more preoccupied on finding a boyfriend than I was in really nurturing those female friendships. And then I played sports, and so I was with women every day, but they weren't necessarily my people. And then as I've gotten older, I've had to kind of navigate that thing that happens where you have your old friends that you may not have seen for, in some situations, years for me. But I know that if we were ever to, cross paths in the same city, or if I were to pick up the phone in tears and call them, it would be like no time had passed. And I don't know if it's taking it for granted or just trusting that they're going to be there. So I sort of have that category of friends. But then I have this funny category of friends where it's often the moms that you see every day at the bus stop, or your friends or friends with them. And so in some regards, you see them way more than any of these other people. And there's that moment of like, wait a minute, we've just, our whole relationship is sort of just the minutia of like, what time is the class party? And are you going to drive to basketball? And then you reach a point of like, do I want to level up and like cross the line and invite them for a drink or have them over? So that for me has been sort of this funny tap dance that has happened since I left New York City and started having a family and live here with my husband. Is that has been the tricky thing for me is, all of us meet people every day, but like at what point do you kind of move them into the friendship bucket and out of the
It's like
just moving
you're
through.
not casually friending anymore. You're exclusively friending. Is friending a verb?
Right.
Like when you're dating.
And I think we talked about this because we did bring up this topic in the old podcast and we really liked it. So we wanted to bring it up again here. The idea of, ways that you can meet friends just logistically. For me, when I first moved from New York City to the suburbs, we just naturally fell in with a group of people that were related to my husband. And so that was sort of my default friend group. And it took me a while to kind of move through that and realize like, I like them, but that person isn't going to be my bestie or, so on and so forth. I feel like, Hallie, you had some good, weren't you talking a lot about like newbie groups and things that you had tapped into when we recorded about this the first time?
Yeah, so in the town that I used to live in, there was a newcomers group when we moved in, which was really cool because at the time, I think I only had one, and he was like 8 months old or something, and so it was just a really great way to get to know the community, and it was it. I mean, it was all the newcomers group in the town where I lived was only women, so it was like almost all moms. It was open to all ages. So we did have some people who were older and had just moved in, which was kind of cool because it was like it could be any woman who had moved to the town. But it was just a nice way to get to know some people so that when you were in the grocery store, you would see a face that was really familiar. Like, I think the most interesting thing that I've come to notice about friendships as I navigate motherhood with friendships is that there can be different kinds of friends. I feel like prior to motherhood, like you said, Charlotte, it's like your besties. Like when you make a friend, it's like that's you're going to go on trips together and you're going to go out and you're going to see each other at dinners and you know what I mean? And I've noticed that in motherhood, like I'm content having some people that are just acquaintances and I have their cell phone number. And these are people that I have and could call if I needed something. There was, there's been we had power outages for like over a week when I lived at the old house, and I had people that I had literally never gone out with ever, but like I could call them and be like, I need ice, or so those people that are sort of there for you. So I've navigating that I think is interesting too, that there's you kind of feel like this needs to be my best friend and we haven't talked in a month, like are we not friends anymore? But they're kind of just you can kind of get these acquaintances. So anyways, that was a tangent, but it was nice to get to know people in my community. Didn't necessarily have to be somebody that I jived with so well and was best friends. But if I ran into them at library, it's just nice to see familiar faces when you're out and about, like in your community. And I really liked that. I don't know how many towns have that. I think, Megan, you said your town does. I feel like more towns should. But I feel like finding a way to do that, especially when you move somewhere new or if you are a new mom, just so you have familiar faces when you're out and about, I think makes a big difference.
Did you look for it, or was it like you moved in and there was an envelope on your door that said, welcome, join us at our next meeting type of thing?
I can't remember. So I knew that it existed because I actually knew a girl through the grapevine that I'd gone to high school with who lived in that town. And I hadn't talked to her in forever, but via social media, I just knew that she lived in this town. And so I had messaged her and she's like, if you move here, like come to the newcomers group. But she wasn't the first. I remember people brought it up multiple times. I think like probably at library hour with my son, somebody mentioned it. Like it was a word of mouth thing. Like people would and then I was the same time. Anytime I met somebody, I was like, make sure you join the newcomers group because it was really nice.
Yes. We had that, Charlotte. When we moved into our home here in New Canaan, there was an envelope and it said join newcomers and it had like the list of events. So I did join it and you can be a member. I feel like it was for your first 5 years here and then you get kind of kicked out. But it was a great way to meet people. And a few more thoughts on making new friends as an adult. I would say go out of your way to do things that you wouldn't normally do. I know they have, there's book clubs, newcomers, sports leagues, events, workout classes, parenting group, church. You can be social, friendly, smile, and start conversations. So there's some tips. Hopefully
That's
those
it. Just
help.
like that.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
that's so simple.
but
Thanks, Megan.
but I do have to say, even when school starts and you're new, like when you move from a new town and you're looking to make adult friends, the coffee dates, the meet and greets that they do, I would force myself to go to those, even though I wasn't really into them ever before. But I was like, I have to meet people, I have to know who my kids are going to school with, the parents. So for me, that was one way I would just have to be extra social to make those connections and friends.
Yeah, it is not part of my DNA. I was thinking about when I left, I was a teacher in Washington D.C., and so my teaching community, those were my besties. And then when I moved to New York City, I lived with someone that I knew from college, but he was not my bestie. And I didn't really meet any friends in New York. I guess I did end up meeting one, but I wasn't looking to meet friends. Like it wouldn't have even occurred to me to go seek out, I don't know, anything, book groups or whatever. And then when we moved to the suburbs, I think because I had kids, I sort of had to force myself to be social just because it's a necessity. But I don't know, if I were to relocate now, I don't think I'd be great at it. I mean, I guess I'm old enough and I have wherewithal to know that you do have to force yourself. But like my daughter's best friend is a best friend because when they moved east from California, the mom basically called almost everyone in the directory and was like, "Can we come over and meet?" And I remember at first being
Wow.
like, "Whoa." And she's now one of my bestest friends, but she had to be so like proactive about being social, and she knows more people than I do now because she did that. So I wonder if it's, what is the expression where you like just you force yourself to do the thing and then eventually it becomes part of who you are. Have you heard?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. When we lived in Georgia, we had just moved to Georgia. I knew absolutely no one. I knew my in-laws. That was it. And I had Annabelle, my oldest, and my mother-in-law kept telling me that her friend from work's boss's daughter lived in the same town and we should hang out. And I'm like, no, no, it's not like that. And plus, social media wasn't really what it is now. So you couldn't even like stalk. I couldn't go and find this girl and see what she was like. And long story short, about 3 or 4 months after I had Annabelle, I was really lonely and just felt like every single day was the same. I'm home alone with my daughter and I have nobody to talk to. I missed my family in Connecticut. I had, in-laws there. And my mother-in-law was like, again, you should go to this breastfeeding group with my so-and-so's daughter. And I was like, fine. And so I connect with her. We met in the parking lot and that was all she wrote. I made all of these mom friends who had children the same age as mine and this really great community that I wouldn't have had I not just finally went out there and done it. And then you also have, it's not to say that it's always a success because you could go to these friends groups and find out that you don't have anything in common, but at least, be proud of yourself that you got out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Well, my dad used to say sometimes knowing what you don't like is just as valuable as knowing what you do. And I feel like the one through line that we're all sort of saying is that you do have to just like force yourself to maybe step out of your comfort zone. And whether it's a potluck dinner club or a book club or going to a lecture at the local library, I feel like if your eyes are open to it, there probably are a lot of community opportunities that you might, I don't know, you might be sitting next to someone great. You might not.
So when we moved to the town that we live in now, we've been here, I don't know what, 6 months, 9 months. I don't know. I've lost all track of time, but I was definitely far more intentional when I moved here about being like, okay, I need to like find my place in the community a little bit. And it's not that I have a full foothold because then I had a baby a few months later, but I was much more aware of like when people were out in the street, like stopping, talking to people, like when I saw somebody walking by my house with a child, like waving them down, being like, hey, I mean, like I literally have phone numbers in my phone because I did this,
Yep.
and I had some people do the same thing. I mean, I don't know if this is a tip, but when we moved in, I got probably like 2 letters, at least 2 or 3 letters in our mailbox of just somebody like, hey, we live on whatever. Like, we know that you moved in with kids. Just sort of like, here's my phone number. These are my kids' ages. And I like made sure I text them right away and just like, here's my info. Like, we're about to have a baby, but like now we have each other and we can connect and like we exchange Christmas cards. So it is a little bit going out of your comfort zone. Like that can be sort of uncomfortable, but it's just nice to know the people in your community. And I wanted to share this tip. I was telling you guys, I listened to this podcast recently with this guy who's like a conversation expert. He's like spent his whole career learning about like charisma and conversation. And he gave this one tip that I thought was so good. And he said, whenever you're in a social situation, always just think about adding one more sentence. And so I can think about so many times you're at school drop off and you're just like having that like little conversation with the other mom, or, you know, you're at the library and you're kind of hitting it out with another mom. And he sort of was just like, just add in one more sentence, something about you, we always just talk about the weather, or we're talking about our kids. He said, think of one more sentence, whether it's something about you or something about where you live or something about your kids, just something that could be a conversation starter. And I thought that was a really nice way to think about it, because I feel like as moms, we're constantly in positions where we're around people. But that sort of breaking down the barrier of actually like making friends with somebody can feel sort of weird. Anyways, it was a really interesting podcast episode. We'll link it. Do we have show notes? Is that a thing? But it was very interesting how he sort of talked about all these sort of ways that you can talk to people and sort of do it in ways that leave it open to more conversation, as opposed to like the basic small talk that everybody hates.
Yeah.
I try to get out of my own head, because there has never been a time in my life when someone has come up to me with an open smile and said, "Hi, it's nice to meet you. My name is Barb. I love your shirt, and, I can make chili."
Yeah.
Like, there's really nothing you could say that wouldn't make me want to sit and hang. And so I try to, like, if I'm at a conference or a party, I do try to just sort of go heads on, and
Yes.
I don't know.
And I always think about too, we've all been in situations where the other person was someone to come up to us and sort of like say something. And so I always am thinking like, how can I be that person to somebody else?
Yes.
Yes. Agreed, Callie. I try to, like, even though I'm like, I don't want to do this, I'll go up and like, "Hi, I'm Megan. So nice to meet you."
Yeah.
And another point I wanted to make as well is with making friends as an adult at age 42, I feel like Charlotte brought this up before. I am definitely more cautious. I will be kind and meet everyone at the, potluck dinner, but the ones that I bring in super close and tight, I feel like as I've been getting older, I definitely am a little more, is the word picky about
Guarded a little more.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
so
it's healthy. I feel like I'm someone I always walk around and show all my cards, and I give all my secrets and my stories away initially. And the number of times I've been hurt because I did that, and like I misread a relationship that I had formed with somebody. So now sometimes I worry I'm too guarded.
It's just not a good fit.
Yeah.
I have a different rubric. When I was younger, it was like, who's going to be fun and go out to the bar, or like who's sporty, and now it's, I don't know, is a little more outspoken and who feels this way about certain topics, and who, I have different qualifiers, I guess.
yes, love that. What about you, Callie? Are you the same way?
Being guarded, you mean, about who
Yes.
I feel like, going back to what I said before, like I've got a few very good close friends that like I'm not looking to fill that position currently. Like, so I mean, honestly, the people that I'm looking for in my life right now that I'm trying to fill in are just those like the community people around me. And so those are never people. I think I've always been pretty good about, or maybe I do it too much, where I don't let people in enough. And I'm just like, I'm good with you just being an acquaintance, and this is just how we work.
Yes.
Well,
Yes. And I also feel like social media has a way of making us feel even worse about making new friends. Because I know for me, when we first moved to the new town we're in now, I would go on and see all these like people out and about and having like the best time. And I'm like, oh, I didn't get invited to that. It's okay though. But it made me feel like kind of not the greatest inside. So I feel like it might seem perfect that everyone's out and about with their best friends and having a great time, but stay off social media. I like that part of it. I feel like is not real.
A lot of my friends now aren't social media people. I mean, they go and watch stuff, but they're not sharing every single bit on stories, and it's kind of, so I
Yes.
don't know if they're hanging out without me, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, I love that though. I mean, our jobs and doing what we do, I love to be around people that aren't into social media and just be real and put my phone away, and that's like a nice thing to do where I don't have to tag and post where I am and this is what I'm eating. I just feel like it's cool just to go and sit with people that don't like to go on social media. It's kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. I mean, it goes both ways. And I know we need to move on because I don't know. I think sometimes when you're feeling really excited and like loving a group of people, it is nice to share it. And I just have to tell myself, they're not posting it to me. Like if I'm not there, they're not like, let's post it so Charlotte sees she wasn't, you know what I mean? That's my brain is telling me that. My brain is like, wait a minute, I feel really left out. But they're just a group of people that are having fun and I feel for these kids because man, as like middle-aged women, those social moments are tricky for all of us. So as a 13-year-old, I don't know what I would have done with it. But
Mhm.
I take your point. I do agree with you, Megan, that it's not always what it seems.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Okay, moving on to pits and peaks. Caitlin, would you like to go
I mean,
first?
mine's just a pit. There's a lot of things that have been happening in my life. January kind of had some crappy news, and then this week was just some crappy news. So I don't want to be like I'm in this pit because I'm working very hard to not be in a pit, to remember that like bad things happen, but that doesn't define your entire life, and it doesn't mean another bad thing's going to happen tomorrow. So I'm trying to be very positive. But today's just kind of like meh, just meh. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're allowed.
Charlotte?
Yeah.
I have a peak, and again, this is a couple weeks late when you're listening to it, guys. I got our car into the garage.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Now, why? Because we had snow coming. So, can I do or use anything in the garage? No, because things are like piled up and blocking what I need. But to back that car into the garage just once, that just was a real high.
Can I just ask how many of you park your cars in the garage?
Me?
Every day you park in the
Yeah,
garage?
but there's only space for
Yeah.
my car. No, but no, nothing else.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, do
I
you
just
have a two-car garage and half of the garage is like the second car part is filled with stuff, or do you have nothing in your garage?
Me? Oh no, there's tons of shit in my garage. It technically can fit two cars, but
Right.
it's a one car
Yes.
garage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just feel like what about you, Megan? Do you park in your garage?
I do not because we have so much shit in our garage too, but I'm just picturing that movie, it's gonna drive me nuts, where he's on a cart and he's going back and forth
Austin
in the
Austin
Powers.
Powers.
Yes. If I tried to get into my garage right now, that would be me. Because number one, I'm not a good driver. Number two, our driveway's not big enough. Number three, there's stuff everywhere. So I just stay outside, but I don't like it. But yes, I could, Callie. I can't make one of the kids do it, Charlotte. I should make the husband do it.
I just feel like it's a generational thing because almost all of my friends that are like our age, most of them are not parking in the driveway. And my mom always brings it up like she thinks it's so weird. We don't currently, so the whole reason that this comes up, when we bought the house we have right now, it has no garage. And we're like, that's fine. Someday we'll add a garage. Like we weren't parking in the old garage. But like it blew my mom's and my father-in-law's like mind that we would even think to buy a house without a garage, because I feel like boomers all park in their garage. Like that is what I don't know. I just feel like it's a very weird, it's a generation.
I grew up in a farmhouse. We didn't have a garage. So the first time I
So,
ever had a garage, I thought it was like a luxury. And my husband's like, no, everyone has garages except you just.
That's just where you put
yeah.
your stuff.
For me, a garage is like a shed. It's just
Yeah,
where you put
it is.
it.
Yeah. No, my parents are the same way about the garage, Callie. Yeah. I think
It's a generation thing.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have like a pit that kind of turned into a peak, if that works for you.
Mhm.
We'll allow it.
You all? Okay.
We'll allow it.
So I was very anxious about traveling on an airplane recently, just to all the news going on, and it ended up being fine. And I'm here, I'm present. So it turned into a peak. Like everyone was like clapping when we landed, including me. So I was like, yeah, we're fine. But yeah, I just need to stop watching the news, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
Cal,
Yeah.
what's up with you, Callie?
I have I have a peak. So it's been a rough 2 weeks, just sicknesses, and we sleep trained my baby, and then I was sick. It was just a lot. And then like my older kids for some reason kept waking up really early, which is unlike them. So this morning, for the first time in a long time, everybody in my house slept past 6:30. And it was just
Wow.
because you guys know that I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
I wake up, that is my time. So like yesterday, I mean, I was like a grouch yesterday, and I was saying to Michael, I was like, I think I haven't had a morning where like that's when I get stuff done. I take it off so it's just been like piling up. And I've been like pretty chill about it because I'm like, I know this isn't going to last forever. Like I've done this thing, like no big deal. But eventually like it starts to bubble over and you're like, oh my God. And I still have a bunch to do, but it just felt really like, okay, it felt nice. Yeah.
What time is your alarm set for every morning, Callie?
Right now it's 5.
So, thanks for tuning in to our episode here. And wherever you're listening to Just for Moms, please leave us a 5-star review. Just a little 5 stars, no pressure or anything.
Yeah. 4, whatever. I mean,
yeah, 4.9.
Just not a 2, because we don't understand the point of a 2, right?
right. Yeah. If you don't like it, just leave the 1. All right, just do it.
Or just step away from your keyboard. Don't do anything.
Or don't listen. Nobody forces you to listen to
Yeah.
our voices.
Yeah, but thank you for tuning in. Just for Moms, Megan, Callie, Caitlin, Charlotte. Bye for now.